I became a Christian when I was 13 years old. Before that, I was born and raised in a family that was atheistic and didn't know much about God at all. And in the Soviet Union, we did not talk about God. It was something that only people who were not very smart would do. So we were not encouraged to think and talk about things of God. At that time, the Soviet Union collapsed, and finally the freedom of religion came to Ukraine, where I lived with my family. And one of the churches in our city decided to hold an outreach on our end of town. And my parents decided to come to that Bible study because my dad was interested to find out what the Bible was all about. And as a result, there was a big Christian evangelistic meeting. And I was at that time about 13, and I came forward and I repented. And that's how I became saved. I don't remember exactly that case, that instance, but when I was about 13 years old, I went to the first Christian camp in my life. In fact, it was the first camp ever in my life. And my mom told me that after I came back from that camp, I related to her that at the end of the camp, there was a big bonfire and everybody was given a stick. And everybody was encouraged to throw a stick in the fire if they were desiring or called of God to become a missionary in a foreign country. And my mom says that I told her that I did throw the stick in the fire. Well, many years later, when I became a Christian college student, the desire to be a missionary was growing in my heart. And what my mom told me about my earlier life only confirmed that desire, and that's how I decided to become a missionary. My husband wears many missionary hats. He is a leader for our South Ukraine team. Also, he is a vice president of the Church Ministries Institute that we have here in Odessa, as well as one of the leaders in our church. And he is very busy in all those three areas. And also family takes a lot of his time too, so you can pray for him. As a missionary, my responsibility first and foremost is to take care of my family. I make sure that the children are all schooled and dressed and fed, and I'm homeschooling 4 of our children, older children. And I also work as an interpreter. If there's a need for somebody to have an interpreter, then I would do that. And also when my husband first was learning Russian, I would help him as an interpreter. I also work on the translating team, helping to translate various materials from English into Russian. I also help with various documents. If there is a need for me to go to some sort of an institution here or an official and talk to them in Russian, since I know the language, I can go and do that and help our team in that way. If you're thinking of becoming a full-time missionary, I think it's very, very helpful first to go on a short-term mission trip. And it is also very good for you to read the books about various cultures, especially if you're interested in one particular country. Be sure to familiarize yourself with the culture, with the ethnic foods that they eat. Try to read missionary biographies. One of the biographies that I really enjoyed reading was the biography of Adoniram Judson. I think that you will find reading those biographies quite encouraging. And of course, going on a short-term mission trip will open your eyes to what missionaries actually do. They do many more things that they can tell you about when they come to your church or when they talk to you personally. So when you're there with them, you will be able to see a whole new world where they live, and you'll be able to get a better perspective of what it is like to be a missionary. If you're trying to witness to your friend, I would recommend for you to get to know your friend well, to try to understand where their friend comes from, what their fears are, what they believe, because it will be very helpful for you. You will know how to better communicate the gospel. Say if the friend comes from an abusive home, you can tell them that God is a loving Father and He will not leave you nor forsake you. So be sure to get to know your friend well and take your time. You don't have to tell them the whole story of the Bible. Make sure that you understand where they're at. Try to see whether they're open to the gospel, and be patient, and God will work in their hearts. Also, pray for your friend. Ukraine is a very Orthodox country. Therefore, about 80% of the population is Orthodox. It's a Christian Orthodox. So you would say that those 80%, out of those 80%, most of those Christians don't go to church more often than twice a year. Other 20% are split among Catholics, Muslims. There's a very, very little percentage of Muslims here. And of course, there are lots of atheists living in Ukraine. And nowadays, a lot of young people are very atheistic. So that is a big challenge for us to witness to those. And the final words are, please come and visit us. You can visit us on our webpage, www.sukofamily.org, and you can find a lot of information about us. There's also our blog, where we keep up with the daily happenings here in Ukraine, where we live. And please pray for us.
I had just turned 8 years old when I moved to Ukraine, and the hardest part was having to go to the Ukrainian school almost right away, and I didn't know very much Ukrainian, so that was very difficult.